Hello again. This is Aries reading number 6, and we are on chapter 3. Yep, that's right. We finished chapter. What? No, what did I say chapter? I meant volume. We're on volume 3. We're on volume 3, chapter 1. Ooh, volume 3, chapter 1, because we finished volume 2 last time. Yippee! Alright. It's the end of the day for me. I may be a little bit eepy, but, that's fine. I can still read. I have some lovely chamomile tea. Ooh, stop making noise, please. Okay. Getting situated, and let's just start. This one has 3 asterisks, the stars, and then it says what lies beyond the wall, and dot dot dot, and then 3 more asterisks. I don't know, is it called asterisks or mm, mm, I'm gonna pretend that I know it, even though I don't. Anyway, I don't know what that means, but that's before it says chapter 1, the beautiful ones. Away and mock the time with fairest show. False face must hide what the false heart doth know. Macbeth, Act 1, Scene 5, 6, 7, Roman numerals. The sky was blue and bright. The sun's rays, approaching noon, were gentle and warm. It was a temperate afternoon that made the frigidness of a few days ago seem like a dream. Shion lifted his face and narrowed his eyes as he looked up at the azure sky. He thought it was beautiful. The sky was beautiful, the blinding whiteness of the crumbled ruin as it reflected the sunlight was beautiful. The odd bubble that floated up as if by magic from the soap suds was beautiful. The sheen on the fur of the freshly washed dog was beautiful. All the little things that surrounded him were beautiful. A lone bubble floated up again and drifted on the gentle breeze. Hey, I forgot what I gave his voice. Oh dear. Hey, stop slacking off. Inukashi's voice called over to him. There are still tons of dogs left. Space out every other minute like that, and the sun's gonna set before you're even halfway through. As if in agreement with Inukashi's reprimand, a large white dog covered in suds gave a low growl. Oops, sorry. Shion stuck his hand back into the suds and washed the dog thoroughly with his fingertips. The dog evidently found it very pleasing, for its eyes were closed and its mouth lolled half open. Today was only Shion's second time at his dog washing job, but already he had learned that dogs had many different facial expressions. They also varied in personality and tendency. Some were lazy, others diligent, some high-strung, others laid back. They could be mild, impatient, rambunctious. All of this was new to him. The white dog that he was washing now was a female that was quite old. It was gentle and intelligent, and reminded him of the wise old woman that often appeared in tales. Shion, you're spending way too much time on each dog. How long is it taking you to wash just one? Inukashi, with his long hair tied at the back and soap suds on his nose, pulled a face at him. You lend these dogs out to serve as blankets, don't you? Shion answered. They need to be cleaned properly then. A quick wash is good enough. The customers are all like dirty strays anyway, the bastards. In a building mostly reduced to rubble, there was a part that still somewhat retained a semblance of the hotel that it used to be. Inakashi lent space there as overnight accommodation for those who had nowhere to stay. He lent out dogs in preparation for the coming winter. Boarders spent the night buried amongst several dogs, and by doing so were able to avoid freezing death. Shion had been hired to wash these dogs. Inakashi, I don't think it's nice. I don't think what? I don't think that's a nice thing to say about your customers. Huh? What'd you say? It's not good to call your customers bastards or call them dirty. Inakashi rubbed his nose with the back of his hand and gave a small sneeze. Are you my mum or what, Shion? No, I've been hired by you to wash your dogs. That makes me the employer and you the employee. And your job is to shut up and do what you're told. Inakashi yanked the white dog out of Shion's hands and began vigorously rinsing the dog by dumping water over it, which he had drawn from the stream. At the back of the ruins, at the back of the ruins there ran a small, clear river. Not long after Xian had escaped from No.6 to the West Block, he had nearly died from a parasite wasp that had planted itself in his body. Although he was unconscious most of the time from severe pain and high fever, he still remembered clearly the taste of the cold, delicious water that had slid down his throat numerous times. When he thanked Nezumi for giving him water and treating him, he had gotten a gruff answer, and there was a decent spring nearby. Perhaps this stream originated from that spring. Inukashi, don't do that. All the soap is getting into the river. Shion hastily restrained Inukashi's hands. Soap suds bobbed in the stream as they drifted away from them. So what? Everyone drinks from this stream, don't they? Well, yeah, of course. We don't have any fancy facilities that give you sanitized and temperature-controlled water at the push of a button. Everyone draws water directly from the river or spring. Then you can't get it dirty. It's bad for It's bad for the people downstream. Inukashi stared at Shion's face for a brief moment. And why should I care about the people downstream? Well, I mean, Shion faltered. If you know the people downstream are going to be drinking from here, you wouldn't want to make it dirty for them. That's normal, right? Normal? By whose standards are we talking about, Shion? This is the West Block. You wouldn't be able to survive here if you went around putting everyone else first. Yeah, but there's no need to go out of the way to make it dirty, Shion protested. We can do what we did yesterday and put the water in steel drums and wash the dogs there. Yesterday we only had small dogs. FYI, Shion, we were supposed to get through all the dogs yesterday, and you took your sweet time, and you taking your sweet time is costing us. You understand that, right? Yeah. Not only are you horribly slow, the dogs we're washing today are all big. And that's not it. Wait for it. There's a shitload of them. Are you getting the picture? If we drew a bath each and every single time, it would take forever. Then Inukashi stopped and shrugged slightly. But if you want to draw water from the river on your own, I'm not going to get in your way. Fine, I'll do it. It's heavy labor, man. I know. By the way, I'm only paying you to wash the dogs. Carrying the water is something you're doing entirely on your own. I don't mind. Well then, get cracking. I'm gonna have lunch. The white dog shook itself vigorously, and water droplets flew in all directions. Shion grabbed the pail that Inukashi had tossed at him and drew a pailful of water from the river. Shion, Inukashi said abruptly. Why? Why what? Why shouldn't I badmouth my customers? Why do I have to bother about the people downstream? Shion looked up into Inukashi's tan face, and he sat perched atop a pile of rubble. Because we're the same. Same? They're the same humans as us, so... Inukashi suddenly threw his head back and laughed. His voice rang out and was sucked into the bright blue sky. Several dogs began barking in agitation. Same humans, huh? You nearly bowled me over. I've never heard those words before in my life. Shion, is that honestly what you think? Yeah, is there a problem? Shion said stoutly. Inukashi leapt down from the rubble and drew up to him. He had a small frame and only reached up to around Shion's shoulders in height. His thin arms and legs protruded from his black clothes, and his skin was the shade of tanned leather. So my filthy customers and the brats that come here to draw water are all the same humans as us. Yeah. Are you and I the same humans? Yeah. Inukashi lifted his arm and extended it upward to the noon sun above. Are the people of No.6 the same humans as us? Shion nodded slowly, then answered. Yeah. Inukashi's smooth, tan skin glowed in the sunlight, and his long bangs cast a shadow over his forehead and eyes. Under its veil, the same tan-brown eyes blinked a few times at him. Shion, you're going to die. Huh? Is your head up in the clouds or something? If you keep believing in that fantasy of yours, you'll never survive here. Nezumi tells me the same thing, Shion said. That I've got my head up in the clouds. The clouds won't be high enough, actually. Your head must be in space or something. I don't know what space is supposed to be like, but it's really high up, right? And sometimes you burn up, just like that, before you even get there. I've never been to space, but yeah, I guess it is really high up. Inakashi climbed nimbly up the ruins and sat down with the blue sky at his back. He dangled his legs over the edge and spoke quietly as if to himself. I wonder why Nezumi even puts up with you. He hates people that are What? He hates people that are all talk and unrealistic. Inakashi, are you close with Nezumi? Close? What do you mean by close? Shion heaved a pail up the path of withered grass and rubble and dumped the water into the steel drum. It means you know a lot about each other. Oh, if that's the case, then no. I know less than the tip of that guy's tail, and I wouldn't want to know. As he spoke, Inukashi pointed at the light brown puppy that was tumbling about at Shion's feet. Its tail was tipped with white. I thought you were friends, but I guess I was wrong. Friends? Inukashi exclaimed incredulously. There's another word I don't hear often. Friends. Ha! Ridiculous. Nezumi only comes here when he wants information about that me or my dogs have collected. I give him information, and he gives me money. That's it. That's everything. Inukashi fell silent. His gaze wandered, collided with Shion's, and slid away. It's not just information and money you guys trade, Shion said, a statement, not a question. Well, once in a while he sings for me. Sings? Yeah, okay. This is taking me for a loop. This is Inukashi saying this? Does if he sings for him? Okay. Okay. He has a good voice, so I get him to sing. Sometimes when my dogs die, it's all right when you wake up and they're already dead, but sometimes they're sick or hurt and don't die as easily, and they suffer. It hurts them so much they whimper all night long. That's when I get him to sing. I don't know what the song's called, but I don't know how to describe it. I don't know, what would it be? Inukashi murmured to himself. What does it sound like? Huh? Nezumi's song, Nezumi's voice. If you were to compare it to something, what would it be? Inukashi tilted his head to the side and pondered in silence. Shion also silently continued carrying pailfuls of water. He made several trips between the river and the steel drums, He made several trips between the river and the steel drum, and when more than half of it had been filled, Inukashi opened his mouth again. The wind, maybe? He said hesitantly. A wind that comes blowing from far away. Yeah, his song steals away souls that are struggling because they can't die. Just like how the wind scatters flower petals, his song cuts the soul away from the body. Any dog, no matter how much he's suffering, closes his eyes and becomes quiet. You think he's just settled down, but he's actually not breathing. They all die quietly, like all their suffering was just a dream or something. He paused. It was like that with my mom, too. Your mother passed away? Yeah. She got killed by a couple of brats that lived downstream. The ones you said I shouldn't make dirty water for. She got rocks thrown at her and was clubbed to death with an oak stick. But my mom was at fault for that too. She tried to steal their only supper. She snuck into their hut and got caught holding their dried meat in her mouth. When she finally got away and managed to come back, both her front legs and ribs were broken, and she was bleeding from her mouth. There was nothing we could do. Having finished from the drum of water, Shion wiped the sweat off his brow. He couldn't understand Inukashi's words. Inukashi, by front legs, you mean your mother's, right? Yeah. She's a dog. A dog? Shion could feel his jaw drop. Inokashi looked at him and gave a laugh. His voice was high and rang out clearly into the air. I was dumped here when I was still a baby, he explained. The old man that picked me up was a weirdo who lived here with his dogs, and he raised me together with them. My mom gave me milk. She licked me and curled up with me to sleep. When it got cold, she huddled close to me and my siblings, her puppies, and kept us warm. She always used to say, "You poor thing, you have no fur, but at least you're cool in the summer and you don't get fleas." She'd tell me that over and over again and lick me until I was clean. She must have been a great mother, Shion said softly. Gentle and caring. Inokashi blinked several times. You really think so, Shion? I do. She cherishes you. Since you don't have fur, she protected you and made sure you didn't freeze. Yeah. Mom was always really nice. I still remember how her tongue felt. It was warm and wet. Funny. I can never seem to forget about it. It's the gift of memory. Huh? It's the gift of memory from mother to son. Memories that your mother's left behind for you. Inokashi stopped dangling his legs and drew his chin back. I've never thought of it like that, he said pensively. A gift of memory, huh? Shion knelt at the river's edge and sipped a mouthful of water. It was cold. It soaked through his entire body, and it was delicious. Ah, yes. It's this water. It was the water that had quenched his exhaustion. It was the water that had quenched his exhausted body like an elixir after his battle with the parasite wasp. Not only his body, it was from the moment the water had slid down his throat and he had found it delicious that Shion's entire being was revived again. He believed it so. This water was connected to what it meant to be alive, this coldness, this deliciousness. It was connected to the voice that called to him, telling him, don't die, live, come crawling back up again. That was why he would remember it forever. There was no way he could forget. Deep within Shion, this water and that voice had set its roots down and would continue to thrive, never to wither. And at times it would float to the surface of his consciousness, and each time it would whisper to him, don't die, live, come crawling back up again. It was a gift of memory, indeed. I'll bring you some lunch. Inokashi stood atop the rubble and spoke in a tone that sounded more like a command. You better be finished with that black one by the time I get back. I won't let you have it until you're finished. Wow, I even get lunch? That's nice of you. I don't just serve this to anyone, you know. It's a full-course meal, and by full I mean 2. Bread and dried fruit. That's more than enough. Running a brush through the black dog's fur, Shion grinned at Inokashi. Months had passed since escaping to the West Block, and chronic hunger gnawed at Shion persistently. At times he wished he could eat his fill of dishes with plenty of meat, fish, and eggs, and he yearned for the bread and cakes that his mother Karan had baked. But in contrast, things that he had never even acknowledged as food before, soap made with bits and ends of vegetables, and bread that was beginning to mold, made his mouth water and satiate his appetite. Being able to eat is enough. Here, everyone was starving. They starved, froze, and passed away. Shion knew in his own way how precious the single slice of bread was that Inokashi was about to give him. He looked up to the sky. The sun was bright. This light was also shining down on No.6, his former workplace at the Forest Park, the high-end residential areas of Kronos, Lost Town, where his mother lived, and here, West Block, were bathed in the same light. But things were so different, too different. Divided by a wall of special alloy, prosperity and poverty stood in opposition to each other. Life and death, light and dark, at the same hour that an extravagant party was being hosted in the interior of No.6. While people smacked their lips at the numerous elaborate and delicate dishes, In the corner of the west block, an elderly person clad in rags would starve to death, while the boys and girls of No.6 would crawl into their beds in the air-conditioned rooms. The children in the barracks of the west block would huddle close to each other to avoid freezing to death. It was the truth that Shion had seen with his eyes. There were far too few things which were like the sunlight, equally and amply distributed among all. Get working, then. Inokashi spat and disappeared in the shadows of the ruin. All that remained of the entranceway, which had probably once been flanked by thick wooden doors, were pairs of rusted hinges. Every time the wind blew in, their screeching noise assaulted the ears. Inokashi passed through the entrance to climb the stairs to the second floor. Some sort of architectural consideration had left this particular part of the building, which used to be a hotel, withstanding against the elements. Durable though it was, plaster still peeled from the walls, and the hallways and ceilings were webbed with countless cracks. Buildings, too, possessed a life. From the moment they were abandoned, buildings began to decay, they began to die. This hotel, which had become a ruin, continued crumbling and decaying still. It marched steadily toward destruction, neither loathing the heartlessness of its human owners, nor lamenting its fate. Inokashi occasionally wondered what he would do once this building had completely collapsed into rubble. The old man that had picked him up, given him dog's milk, and taught him speech and the written word was no longer here. He had wandered outside one snowy day, never to return. Snow. Was it snowing? Maybe it was thundering that day. Or it might have been a morning with chapped winds. Either way, the old man disappeared. He vanished without even leaving any word of farewell. He wasn't lonely because he had his dogs. From that day until now, he had lived here with them. He knew no other home. Oh, sorry, I'm looking for my fucking cup without actually looking at it. He knew of no other home. He also knew of no other human company. Nezumi was probably the same. He may have been more places than Inokashi. He may have been to more places than Inokashi, but he probably lived alone, not knowing anyone else, nor ever having the need to know. Inokashi had assumed so for no particular reason. He had no grounds for his argument, but he figured he wasn't entirely wrong. Inokashi had a sharp sense of smell. Nezumi always only carried a small... What? Nezumi always only carried the smell of loneliness. When that scent blurred and Inokashi had begun to notice a mingled scent of another, Shion had appeared before him. He was a weirdo. He was very strange. His hair was snowy white and he had a red scar. Though Inokashi wasn't sure, he'd heard... What? Though Inokashi wasn't sure, he'd heard that the raised scar covered Shion's whole body like a coiled snake. But in terms of appearance, there were tons more people who were weirder than him. His appearance wasn't the only thing. Shion was also weird in the inside. He said not to dirty the water of the brats downstream. He said the people inside the holy city and people... Oh, wait. This is in italics, so I have to say it in his voice. He said not the dirty water of the people... What? He said not to dirty the water for the brats downstream. He said the people inside the holy city and people like us were the same, and he talked about the gift of memory, not as any kind of joke or sarcasm, but in all seriousness. He was weird. Very weird. Why is Nezumi hanging around a weirdo like him? Inokashi walked down the hall and opened the door at the very end of it. Nezumi. Nezumi was sitting in a chair with his feet up on the table. Can't you knock before entering the room? Wait, okay, that's... Oh, never mind. What? Hey, what? What? Inokashi walked down the hall and opened the door at the very end of it. Nezumi. Nezumi was sitting in the chair with feet up on the... Can't you knock before entering the room? Inokashi said irritably. That doesn't make any sense. But I'm just gonna read what's written here. Someone didn't learn proper manners from their mama. Jeez. He then swung a blow as hard as he could toward the pair of long legs resting on the table. Nezumi sniffed lightly in derision and took his legs off. I called out before coming in. That dog gave me permission to enter. The dog with black patches on its fur was lying in a corner of the room. It cocked its head to the side and gave a wide yawn. Okay, don't make me yawn, Dad. If you're here to pick up Shion, you're early. If he keeps going at this pace, he probably won't be done till evening. Pick up? Never. But he scuffed with the disposers, didn't he? Isn't it dangerous to let him walk by himself? I'll send him with the dog on the way home either way. That's good enough. He actually cares about him. But the disposers don't give up easily. That guy stands out, and if he gets caught, who knows what they might do to him. Nezumi's gray eyes sparkled, and the slight smile played on his lips. Does it matter to us what the disposers do with Shion? What's up, Inakashi? You're being awfully nice. Not like you at all. Inakashi glared at Nezumi silently. The small playhouse was one of the few entertainment facilities in the West Block, and as one who stood upon its stage, Nezumi made his audience pay, or rather, made them want to pay, out of what little money they had for a show that provided them no physical nourishment. It was Nezumi's beautiful countenance and deep, clear voice that made them want to. His voice laid trapped and dying souls to rest, gently detaching them from the body. His appearance made it impossible to discern whether he was male or female, human or demon, god or devil. His audience, in a brief slice of the evening, could forget the day's hardships and the next day's sorrows, and let themselves be immersed and intoxicated by his voice. Once the outside of the shabby doors of the playhouse reality waited for them. No money in their pockets, children crying for food at home. But despite that, the people's faces were always filled with drunken contentment as they scattered hither and thither into the darkness. It's all an illusion. He's just a big fraud. Next time he met with Nezumi, Inakashi mentally spat these words from the pit of his stomach. Nezumi was like a beautiful mistress who manipulated men and milked them of all that they were worth. Inakashi had been through that experience once too. Mom was suffering so much. I didn't know what else to do but to call him. I asked him to let my mom's soul go peacefully. That was still good. His song was impressive and my mom was released from suffering. But what he did before that, the sheer amount of money he demanded while my mom lay there suffering. It was enough money for me to live a whole month without working. With other dogs, I would have given up. I would slit their throat or smash their skull with my own hands and let them die a quick and easy death. But I couldn't do that to my mom. I could never do that to her with my own hands. He knew that, and that's why he demanded the sum. After burying Mom in her grave, me and the dogs had to work for 3 days without any food. He's a fraud. He captures people's souls, clamps down on them, and shows them a fleeting dream. It might be vivid, but it's still fake. Dreams are dreams. You can't live on them. Inakashi unlocked the cabinet and retrieved the bread and a bag of dried fruits. If you're not here to pick Shion up, what are you here for? Can't you treat me to some lunch? I'm starving. You jest, Inakashi said in a mocking voice. I don't have anything fitting for a star actor like you, but if you pay me 1 silver coin, I can give you bread, fruits, and water. 1 silver coin for moldy bread, rock-hard dried fruits, and water from the stream? That's stretching it, Inakashi. Way cheaper than how much it costs for your singing. Nezumi chuckled softly. You still holding a grudge about that? Damn right I am. I sang for your dog so many times after that. It might as well have been charity for the amount I took as payment. What pisses me off even more? Nope, that's what pisses me off even more. You took advantage of me. I got gypped, I don't know what that word is, but it kind of seems like it could be possibly be a slur. I'm gonna say I got scammed out of all the money I had that time. I was this close to starving to death. Well, if it happens again, feel free to call me, Nezumi said amiably. I'll sing you a song about food and see you off. Just teeming with compassion, aren't you? Inakashi retorted. He hunched his shoulders and stood directly in front of Nezumi. He posed his question once more. What do you want? Nezumi, still deeply seated in the chair, tossed a single coin onto the table. Inakashi's eyes widened. Gold, he whispered. It's real. See for yourself. Inakashi pinched the shiny coin between his fingertips and gazed at it. You're right. It's real. Yeah, it's the real thing. I want you to do a job for me, Nezumi said in an expressionless voice. Job? A job that's worth a whole gold coin? That's down payment. After the job is done, I'll give you another gold coin. Big spender, aren't you? But I won't take it. Inakashi flung the coin out onto the table. You're going to refuse a job worth 2 gold coins without even hearing it? I'm refusing it because it's a job worth 2 gold coins. I can smell the stench. Stench? The smell of danger. My nose is warning me. It's saying, don't go there, or else you'll get killed. I don't care how much money you're gonna pile on. If I die, it's all over. Either way, any job that involves a rat any job that involves a rat and is worth 2 gold coins is like sticking my hand into a nest of poisonous snakes. I don't want to die just yet. That's why you get the money without dying. Isn't that what doing a job is all about? Avoiding danger isn't gonna turn you a profit. It depends on the level of danger. All your jobs are dangerous and tricky. This is 2 whole gold coins we're talking about here. If anyone else came to me with this deal, I'd have taken it in a split second, damn it. Inakashi grumbled. I feel ripped off already. Nezumi stood up and pocketed the gold coins. That's too bad. I guess it can't be helped. No hard feelings. Things are just too risky with you. To be honest, I don't even want to have much to do with you. Then it's mutual, Nezumi said airily. Fine, let's not meddle with each other again. I'll never come to you with a job again. As for you, no matter how much you suffer, be sure you don't come to me about it. Inakashi hastily grabbed Nezumi's arm as he was turning his back. He had lunged so suddenly that he almost tripped over himself. Wait a minute, Nezumi. What do you mean, no matter how much I suffer? I just told you. If you end up like your mother someday and you're suffering because you can't die, it won't have anything to do with me. You can call me, but I won't come. What are you going on about? Inakashi said shakily. Me going through a painful death? That would never happen. Besides, I'm younger than you, aren't I? I think so, at least. Nezumi lazily brushed Inakashi's hand off. Inakashi, age doesn't matter in this place. You know that, don't you? Death can never be predicted. It just comes. And how many people here are lucky enough to die painlessly, huh? The majority suffer, and die writhing. Tomorrow, someone might stab a knife into your stomach. You might crack your skull open on a falling piece of debris. You might get bacteria into a wound, have it fester and rot alive. You might come down with a serious illness. Can you guarantee that none of that is going to happen to you? Huh, Inakashi? Can you say that with certainty that you, above all people, will die without suffering? A pair of gray eyes bored into him. They had a luster of fine cloth and glowed dimly like the clouds when they shrouded the sun. His voice reverberated deep in his ears. Inakashi sucked a breath in and took a step backwards. It was a trick, an illusion. He's trying to suck me in. Suffer all you may Suffer all you may because you can't die. I won't get involved. Fine with you, right? Inokashi sank into a chair. He knew death. He had seen it countless times. Not one of them could be called decent. That was why he wanted to stay alive. He felt like, as long as he suffered, he would be able to experience a more or less better death. Although much too insignificant to call it hope, Inokashi admitted feeling a sort of longing for peaceful death. Damn it. He gritted his teeth. Nezumi's lips curled thinly into a smile. This is a threat. I can easily turn Nezumi down, but after that, if I were to get into the same fix as Mom did, my bones broken, my insides crushed, blood spurting from my mouth, and I had to die that way. If there was nothing to ease my pain, numb it even just a little, if I had no choice but to moan and plead for someone to kill me, quickly, please, until death came to claim me. Just thinking about it sent a chill down his spine. He broke into a sweat. Sit down, Inokashi uttered weakly. I'll listen to what you have to say first. Nezumi's gloved hand extended toward him and caressed his cheek. Good boy. Fuck you. Inokashi glared at the face that still smiled wanly at him. Let me tell you something, Nezumi. Don't think this shebang... What am I saying? Don't think this shebang is gonna work every time. Shebang. I don't hear that word a lot. Or see it. Shebang. I only want you to do a job for me. A rude way to treat a customer, don't you think, Inokashi? Is this your idea of a decent customer? Taking advantage of someone's weakness, threatening him, and then forcing a dangerous job on him? I think even fleas are a little nicer than the dogs they infest compared to you. Wouldn't you say, Nezumi said, that the fault lies within that person for having a weakness that can be taken advantage of in the first place? In these parts, exposing your weakness can cost you your life. Not news to you, I hope. Nezumi once more gently stroked Inukashi's cheek as he fell silent, and murmured sympathetically. You're afraid of death. More afraid than anything. You're afraid of the suffering that leads up to it. You'd do anything to be spared from it. I know that, and I'm able to ease that pain for you, am I not? I don't want to blackmail and wring things out for you, and wring things out of you. I'm taking the proper steps, paying you money in exchange for a job. That's enough! Inokashi slammed the table with his fist. Two puppies that were playing under the table shot out from under it and fled. You fraud! You sophist! You third-rate actor! I hope you choke on rat poison and die! Out of breath, Inokashi inhaled raggedly. Are you finished? Nezumi said momentarily. His calm and unruffled tone further stirred Inukashi's wrath. But it was no use getting irritated. Nezumi was right. He was at fault for exposing his weakness and leaving himself vulnerable. These were the rules in this land. Inukashi sighed and adjusted himself in his seat. Let's hear what you have to say. I don't have much time. Keep it short and sweet. Nezumi lowered himself into a seat as well. He was no longer smiling. End of part A. Oh boy, this one's a long one. Okay. Oh boy, this one's quite long. But we'll get through it. Alright, continuing to part B. I want information. I figured as much, Inukashi said simply. Even you wouldn't be foolish enough to come to me looking for groceries. So, information about what? The correctional facility. Inukashi almost fell over. Correctional facility? He exclaimed. You mean the one the Security Bureau presides over? Is there some other correctional facility that no one knows about? Nezumi said sarcastically. Inukashi ignored him. So you want information? What kind of information? Any kind, no matter how unimportant. Nezumi finished Nezumi fished a white mouse out of his pocket. It was about the size of an adult thumb. Inukashi's eyes narrowed. Is that a robot? It's smaller than the one you gave me last time. Pulling off his gloves, Nezumi gently pressed the mouse's head. Its back split open, and a yellow shimmer of light flickered momentarily before an image floated up into it. What's this? A hologram. The mechanism embedded in this mouse uses light to reproduce objects. I know what a hologram is, Inukashi said irritably. It's my first time actually seeing one, though, he said as an afterthought. But I'm asking about what's displayed there. What is this? A blueprint? It's the floor plan of the correctional facility's inner structure, but it's pretty outdated. The structure itself might not have changed, but the administration system has probably been improved. Inukashi scowled at him in a way that said, You must be kidding me. No can do. I don't care what kind of information you want. I won't be able to get it for you. Why? Why? Don't ask me stupid questions. Do you know what kind of place this is? Of course you wouldn't, he said flatly. I don't know either. No one knows, because there hasn't been a single person who came out of that place alive. Not even dead bodies can make it out there. Once they pass through the special gates, they disappear. They vanish off the face of the earth. That's the kind of place it is, right? That's what the rumors say. Oi. Inukashi gulped and shuddered. Nezumi echoed his words back to him, expressionlessly. Rumors? Rumors say, Inukashi began hesitantly. There's a huge incinerator in the basement, and all the prisoners get thrown in there. They get burned like garbage, and the ashes that come out of there are scattered on the farm fields of the South Blocks, instead of going to waste disposal. They say it's good for the soil. Here in this place. Inukashi pointed to the bottommost floor, presumably the basement, on the diagram that floated above the table, and shuddered again. It was a blank white space, and there was nothing written on it. This curious empty space gave him an eerie feeling. There's no incinerator there, Nezumi muttered. What makes you so sure? Inukashi said accusingly. Have you seen it? How can you say that without even... Inukashi clipped his words halfway through and found himself staring at Nezumi. You know? There was no answer. You know what it's like inside the correctional facility? When... Inukashi's hand thrust into the light and clenched into a fist. The image juddered and warped. When did you record this? He demanded. This is internal data. Inukashi, I'm not paying you gold to answer your questions. I want whatever you can manage. Find any latest information about the interior of the correctional facility and add it to this data. Specifically, if I were to be picky, I'd want accurate information about the operations and security systems. You stupid or something? Operations system? Only people in the highest classes have access to that. It's top secret. Tough luck if I can even get my hands on it. That's why I'm not being picky. Gather whatever you can manage. Any information that has to do with the correctional facility, I want it ASAP. I'll leave you with this. Nezumi turned off the switch and tossed the small projector mouse to Inukashi. Inukashi wrinkled his nose at it as if it were a rotting corpse. Should I use the mini mouse I got from you last time? He asked. No, that won't work. The correctional facility is full of security sensors. Any robot, no matter how small, is gonna get blown up if it's caught scurrying around without proper recognition. Then use real mice, Inukashi continued. They'll be able to get in much easier than dogs. A small living organism isn't a problem for a sensor, is it? Not so fast. Forget mice, even flies or cockroaches would be exterminated automatically. Lasers burn them up, so there's nothing of them left. They don't let a single fly intrude into that place, and that's how it is. What am I supposed to do? Inukashi said in frustration. How am I supposed to sneak in and gather information from some place that's all computer managed? You don't have to sneak in. You're right. Pretty much all of this facility's interior is managed to the T, but there are still lots of areas that involve people, too. And information usually leaks through the mouths of people. If there's anything computers can't control, it's a man's tongue. Inakashi hunched his shoulders exaggeratedly. He was beginning to make out, though, vaguely, what Nezumi was trying to get at. He didn't want to see any more clearly if he could help it. Of course, he agreed promptly. You need people operating the computers and humanoid robots. The guards would have to be human, and officials from the bureau would be coming in and out of there. But we can't forget the prisoners. They're human too, right? But apart from them, the only people that can come and go from the correctional facility are people inside No.6. You need an IC card to get through the special gates. It's impossible to create a fake No.6 IC card, which means no one from the West Block can get near that building unless they're prisoners. Not that anyone would want to get near it anyway. So, he was talking rather fast. Well, if we just jump to conclusion, pretty much it's impossible for us to interact with people inside the correctional facility because they're residents of No.6, and that makes it an impossible case, right? You should know better than anyone. Those guys live in a completely different world from us. It's just different. Inakashi. What? You're talkative today. Inakashi dropped his gaze. He knew that lowering his eyes signaled defeat, but he had no energy to glare back at that pair of gray eyes that stared at him. He knew already who would win and who would lose. Nezumi stood up and drew close to Inakashi, who was staring at the floor. He whispered in a raspy voice, a low but sensual, a woman's voice. That's how you always are. When you've got something to hide, you suddenly become more eloquent. And then I realize the truth that lies in your heart, that underneath that tongue of yours flapping like a leaf in the wind, a furtive secret is curled up. What the hell? Okay, I'm sorry, what the hell? His fingertips stroked Inakashi's chin, slid up his jawline, and lightly pinched his earlobe. Inakashi shivered. The brief moment of ecstasy was followed quickly by a small, sharp pain. His earlobe had been yanked. Ow! He said indignantly. What the hell was that for? Don't underestimate me, Inakashi. What are you talking about? I wasn't... Stop playing dumb. I know what you're using your dogs for. That's why I came here. Inakashi tisked loudly and roughly shoved Nezumi's hand away. Nezumi chuckled amusedly. Tidra, you use your dogs to smuggle, don't you? You've been transporting leftover food and garbage from the correctional facility to the West Block for years now. I am, Inakashi answered defiantly. So what? Transporting goods is also part of my trade. A rat like you has no business telling me what to do. The correctional facility has full waste disposal functions, Nezumi continued. They can dispose of everything inside that building. You just said that not even corpses can make it out of there. You're right. They even dispose of dead bodies inside that place, which means there shouldn't even be a speck of dust escaping from there, much less leftover food. From that same correctional facility, you somehow managed to get periodical loads of leftover food and sell it to the food stalls on the West Block. Makes good money, doesn't it? Maybe even more than your hotel running business. Is it not to your liking that I'm operating the black market? Inakashi said scathingly. You must be kidding me. Since when did you become a bureau lackey, huh, Nezumi? Machines don't trade with black market merchants. Once programmed with a set of rules, they'll never break them. If anyone's going to break the rules, it's the humans. There's something in the interior of that correctional facility that's selling you leftover food, isn't there? No, not just food. He's probably passing prisoner rations and other belongings your way, too. Anyway, the fact is that you have a contact inside the correctional facility. Sniff out a lead from him, lure the information out of him. Oh. Inakashi shook his head. The young man in front of him was trying to get him involved in more danger than he had expected. Inakashi broke out into a cold sweat. It's impossible, he muttered. The guys I deal with are the lowest of the low. They pretty much do the cleaning and waste disposal right alongside the robots. There's no way they would have any sort of useful information. That's exactly why you want to ask them. The guys on the top tier are strictly overseen by authorities. They can't risk the danger of letting any secrets slip. But the management is lax with people in lower positions. And if their job is to clean the place, they've probably been everywhere inside the facility. Who knows? They might have more information than you think. Your job is to sniff it out. Your nose is as good as a dog's, isn't it? Inakashi heaved a sigh and vainly attempted at a last act of retaliation. I need money. What? I need money. To get any information from them, I need money. 2 gold coins isn't gonna cut it. Nezumi nodded and passed a small leather pouch to Inakashi. In it, there were a considerable number of gold coins. I only have this much right now. Nezumi suddenly squatted down and peered into Inakashi's eyes. Inakashi, work with me. I'm begging you. Begging? Nezumi, are you begging me? If you take this job, I'll promise I'll always rush to your side if you're overcome with unbearable pain one day. No matter where you are, I'll deliver a song to your soul. I promise. Who's gonna count on a promise between a dog and a rat? No one could guarantee it, but yet Nezumi would keep his promise. Almost instinctively, the feeling apprehended Inakashi's soul. No matter where or how I died, if it was accompanied with suffering, he would always appear and put my soul to rest. He could be hard to understand as hell, but he would never break a promise. Inakashi believed strongly in his own instincts. He extended his hand and closed it around the leather pouch. I'll take the job. I owe you one, Nezumi breathed out shortly, and wound the superfiber cape around his shoulders. Then he put a finger to his lips. I shouldn't need to tell you, but none of this. I know. I won't let anyone get wind of this job. It's the cardinal rule for my work. I'll gather the information as quickly as I can and contact you before anyone else can find out. I'm counting on you. Nezumi, I want to ask you something. What? What are you doing this for? Silence. It was impossible to read a single expression from Nezumi's face. Inakashi licked his bottom lip and continued. With this much money, you could live an easy life for a pretty good while. I knew you were a star actor and made quite a bit of money, but even for that, this is a lot. Putting this much money forward and threatening me. I'm not threatening you. I only came to you with a job. Whatever. Then going as far as to request a job from me. What makes you want to poke your nose into the correctional facility so badly? What's your reason? Nezumi didn't answer. He only made a slight half-smile. It was an artificial one, made for the stage. You don't need to know to do the job, do you, Inakashi? Well, obviously, Inakashi said tensely. But diving into this kind of risky job without even knowing why is kind of harsh, man. Finding out why isn't going to change how risky it is. This guy and his fondness of twisting arguments around. I'm no match for him when it comes to verbal arguments. Fine, he said firmly. That's enough from you. Get out of here already. Inakashi flapped his hand to shoo Nezumi away. He caught a whiff of soap. The image of a face crossed his mind. It was the face of someone who was washing the dogs, covered in suds. The nonchalant question tumbled out of his mouth. Nezumi, This has nothing to do with Shion, does it? For a brief moment, the gray eyes wavered. Inukashi's eyes didn't miss their slight hesitation. The tip of his nose twitched. He could smell something. Shion? Nezumi raised his shoulders slightly. Where does Shion come into this? This has nothing to do with him. Just now, you told me not to divulge information about this job to anyone else. Do you mean that I can't tell Shion either? Of course. There's no need to involve people that have nothing to do with this. Dear, dear, aren't you the gentle one? Inukashi mocked. Who knows how many dangerous jobs you've shoved into my hands, but when it comes to Shion, oh no, I can't get involved. I can't get him involved. Huh, I see. I guess even you warm up to people if you've lived with them long enough. Is that white-headed weirdo of a little boy that precious to you? Nezumi vanished from before his eyes. Before he could even utter a cry, Inukashi's body was being pushed up against the wall, and a set of fingers were digging into his throat. That's enough smart-mouthing from you, Nezumi hissed. Any more and I'll make sure you can never speak again. Let's see you try, Inukashi said boldly. These guys won't let you off for it. Several dogs which were sprawled on the floor got to their feet, snarling menacingly as they surrounded Nezumi. Just as one of them bared its teeth, a small gray shadow darted out of the corner of the room. A strange yelp. The large dog that had bared its teeth raised its voice in pain. A small mouth was latched onto its neck. The dog writhed violently, shaking its head from side to side, but soon collapsed, forepaws first. Its four limbs convulsed. The other dogs retreated fearfully. Inukashi shoved Nezumi aside and cried out in the same strangled way his dog did. My dog! My dog! He lifted the dog's body in his arms. A cold voice showered over his head. If you don't want to end up like him, settle your other dogs down. Nezumi, you fucking... Cheep, cheep. The soft cry of a mouse. Inukashi lifted his face, and his breath caught in his throat. He looked about the room, and he was rooted on the spot. From the top of the cabinets, from underneath the table, from the shadow of the door, from various places in the room, countless small gray mice were staring silently at him. All their eyes were red and glowed from deep within. Down, Inukashi commanded hoarsely. The dogs did as they were told. They returned to their spots and lay low on their stomachs. He's not dead, Nezumi said. He's just paralyzed a bit. Give him 20, 30 minutes and he'll be fine. He's breathing properly, right? It was just as Nezumi had said. The dog's breathing was labored but consistent. It was struggling to get to its feet, but it looked like it had no strength to. It gave a pitiful whimper. Phew! Boy, oh boy, the reader's note, that stressed me out. Holy shit. I don't want to read about that. Okay. You'll pay for doing this to my dog. Just as Inukashi clenched his fist, the door flew open with a bang. Shion came bursting in. Inukashi! Shion stood frozen, still holding the doorknob. His gaze slid from Inukashi, who was hugging his dog, to Nezumi. Nezumi, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? You shouldn't be abandoning your workplace like that. Well, I heard a dog howling, and I thought I heard Inukashi's voice too. I thought something had happened. Inukashi, what's wrong with that dog? He's just paralyzed, Nezumi answered for him. A brown mouse poked its head out from Nezumi's shoulder. It jumped down on the floor and scurried up Shion's body. Hamlet, did you come along too? Shion said to it. Hamlet? What are you talking about? It's his name, because he likes to read Hamlet out loud. Because he likes to be read Hamlet out loud. Nezumi's face contorted. Don't go naming my mice without permission. Well, you wouldn't name them yourself, said Shion unfazed. He seems to like it a lot, right, Hamlet? The mouse nodded its head up and down. Ridiculous, Nezumi spat. So if this guy's Hamlet, what's the other one? Othello? Macbeth? Cravat? Cravat? Was there a name like that in Shakespeare? Cravat? I think that's right. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's the name of a fried pastry. The color of his fur looks just like one. It means tie, but yeah, okay, I am right about that. I believe I am. It means tie because of the twist, because of the shape. The dough has powdered almonds in it, and you twist it into a tie shape to fry. I get it. That's enough. Nezumi interrupted. You go dream of filling your belly with those cravats or whatever. When you go to sleep tonight, I'm going home. When you go to sleep tonight, I'm going home. Talking with you gives me a headache. Are you sure it doesn't have something to do with your nerves? You're always irritated. Maybe you're tired. Whose fault is it that I'm irritated all the time? Besides, you... Feeling Inakashi's bewildered gaze on him, Nezumi shut his mouth. He rewrapped his superfiber cloth and strode out of the room without another word. Hamlet nudged Shion on the cheek and chirruped once before bounding after its master. The gray mice that had been all over the room had mysteriously disappeared. Inakashi let a long breath escape his lips and sank to the floor. The dog gave a low growl in his arms. Shion bent down on one knee and began inspecting the dog thoroughly. He looks like he's been paralyzed with some sort of drug, but his heart's beating normally and he's not vomiting. He should be fine. Really? He won't die? He'll be fine. He's only mildly paralyzed. We should give him clean water to drink. I'll go get some. Shion filled the pail that he had been using to carry water from the river and brought it to the dog. The dog gulped the water down eagerly. See? It looks like the numbness is almost all gone. But this dog, how did he get paralyzed? Nezumi did it. Nezumi? To the dog? No way. Yes way, Inakashi said angrily. He did it. That bastard paralyzed my dog. He wouldn't hesitate to do something like that. He's ruthless, cunning, and cruel. I'd watch out if I were you. If you let his pretty face fool you into thinking he's going to be gentle and kind to your mum, you're in for a nasty surprise. I don't think he's my mother. I don't think he's my mother, but I do think he's kind. Inakashi made circles with his index finger in front of Shion's face. Idiot. That's what I'm talking about when I say he's fooled you. You're too naive to notice how heartless he is. Nezumi isn't heartless. He saved my life more than once. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have been able to survive. Nezumi, help a stranger without anything in return. For nothing in return. On the contrary, Shion said reflectively, I think he's brought a nuisance upon himself. It might sound weird coming from me, but I think I'm being quite a bit of a burden on him. After all, I don't know anything about how to live here. Inakashi pursed his lips. He let his gaze hover over Shion's profile as he washed the dog's wound with water. A nuisance? He was quite right. In these parts, someone who was as naive and gullible as he was and was kind to everyone was none other than a nuisance. And a nuisance often became the shackles that binded the hands and feet. But Nezumi was living with this weirdo of a nuisance, looking for nothing in return. He wasn't chasing Shion out of his nest. On the contrary, he was sheltering him there. Why? Hey, Shion. Do you two always talk to each other like that? Huh? Well, yeah, I guess. Why? Because Nezumi's not usually like that. He doesn't let his emotions show. Shion cocked his head to the side quizzically, as if to say, really? The dog licked the back of his hand. It was its way of expressing gratitude for treating the wound. Inakashi wiggled his nose and grinned. He was onto a scent. Shion and that job concerning the correctional facility were somehow connected. For this kid, Nezumi was was willingly stepping into dangerous territory. Inakashi had no proof. He wasn't sure of any clear reason for why Nezumi was doing this, but he had grasped Nezumi's weakness now, and that was certain. My nose doesn't lie. Nezumi, so this oblivious weirdo is your weakness, your Achilles heel, huh? Then things should be interesting. You said so. Let anyone find out your weakness and it could cost you your life. You're damn right. And I've got your lifeline in my hands right now. I'll make sure you get rewarded handsomely for what you did to me. You can count on that. I might be wrong, but... Shion's voice reached his ears. He was petting the dog, which had gotten to its feet, and was wagging its tail energetically, apparently fully recovered from paralysis. Huh? Did you say something? This dog, is he related to you by any chance? Oh, Inakashi paused. Yeah, he is. He's the last one that my mom gave birth to. She had him and got beaten to death shortly afterwards. There was a lapse before he said, How'd you know? I just had a feeling, Shion said. He has really intelligent and compassionate eyes. It kind of reminded me of what you said about your mother, so I wondered if I was right. Shion's hand stroked the dog's neck. The dog's eyes drooped half-closed, and a quiet sigh escaped from its mouth. From its peaceful expression, it was hard to imagine that the same dog had bared its teeth at Nezumi earlier. Shion, you didn't laugh. Huh? About what? About my mom. Usually when I talk to people about my mom being a dog, they laugh or make fun of me or treat me like a freak. But you said my mom was kind and loving. You're the only one who listened to me without laughing or making fun of my mom, apart from... Inakashi clipped his words and swallowed hard. He had just noticed this fact. Simultaneously, he was overcome with a wave of agitation that threatened to suffocate him. Shion, still on one knee, looked up at him with a concerned expression. Inakashi licked his dry lips and slowly formed the rest of his words as if tracing the thread of his memory. You're the only one, apart from Nezumi. And that is the end of chapter 1. Oh boy, that was a long one. And doing... I don't know why I gave Inakashi this voice. It's so hard to do for a long time. I'm so out of breath every sentence I do with it. But it's fine. I'm sticking to it. There's no way I can change it now. But anyway, yeah, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this chapter. And I'll see you next time. Bye.